It's Yvie Jones recording on Wurundjeri land, and also recording on Wurundjeri land is an incredible proud Noongar Yumatji woman, Brooke Blurton. You'd know her as our first bachelorette, our first bisexual bachelorette. She was also our first indigenous bachelorette in the world. Brooke is also a youth worker and hosts Nova's podcast, First Things First. Let's get straight into it. You've just said that you wanted to be the fittest you've ever been in 2024. What drove you to make that kind of a decision?
Oh my God, this is a bit of a funny one. I don't know if I'm there yet. I've got, 8 months of the year still to go. But I think because I'm turning 30, I think it's not even the age. I think, to be fair, I actually just wanted to sort of dedicate a year to getting to what I think is like my peak self. And I don't think that's necessarily always like the fittest. I think also like mentally fit as well. The last couple of years I've sort of declared a soft girl era, which is probably more doing the internal work than anything. Like I felt and have reaped the benefits of that. I think within my relationships with my friends and family and community, like I felt like I'm a better version of myself just mentally. So then, it's not always about being like the fittest, but I think also like doing the work.
Yeah. And when you have that mental fitness, it really helps then when you bring in the physical strength as well. So what do you think is a strong woman, and who do you look up to?
I think, I guess when I picture a strong woman, it's not necessarily like she's physically strong. Like I picture like my leaders in community are the matriarchs in my family, the women that I guess lead with community values and respect values and inclusive sort of values. I think a strong woman for me is someone that's in her power. I think someone that's confident in her own ability rather than what she can be for others as well.
When you work with Indigenous youth, what do you want to teach them about strength?
I think working with youth, it's about building up their strength and resilience. And I think the first start of it, and, when you're building rapport and a relationship with a young person, it's kind of reminding them of what is in them and what they're capable of, and not so much what you can do for them, but what they can do for themselves. Personally, like I love that rapport building start of a relationship with a young person. I think, that excitement of getting to know one another and finding sort of commonalities and then building on that. And strength for me, I look at these young people and I can see it instantly with them, just the way that they are with themselves, with other kids, with their teachers. Like, I just don't think they realize their own power within it. And I think it takes so much time, but it also takes so much consistency with that, like showing them and continuously showing up for them and getting them to understand how they can show up for themselves and for others too. So I think that for me is like a good representation of strength, is just getting them to believe in themselves.
How does it make you feel that they look at you as that empowering woman?
I think that's what obviously drew me to youth work in the first place, was the rewarding part of building relationships with young people and seeing their quality of life get better over time and seeing them build their confidence. Personally, like, I don't know, sometimes if they say something that's such a nice compliment or, I get some really good feedback, I'm just like, it reminds me, I guess, why I went into it. And I think that's also what keeps me grounded as well.
Yeah.
Because, I guess in an industry where it's so consuming and so polarizing and, very saturated with, fake things and gossip and tabloids and stuff like that, I think youth work is the job that really grounds me and brings me back down to earth.
When you were on The Bachelor, Bachelorette, actually, let's say both, how did you keep your mental and physical strength going? And did it change from one of them to the other? Obviously, you were the star of the second one. So was there a massive shift in what you had to do to take care of yourself?
I think there were different things that I did in both. I think when I first started, I was completely naive, and I think my main goal was to just I guess, stay above water, living in a house full of 20 girls, and especially being from the bush and, you know, adapting to different personalities. I found that as such a big challenge with people that I build in community. Like, you know, they don't really come from, like, I guess, privileged backgrounds. So being in a house full of 20 girls with different backgrounds, and some of them sort of, you know, having that sense of privilege and entitlement, was really difficult for me to, like, adapt to. But I thought, you know, everyone's on a journey, everyone's here for the same reason, like, you know, and just kind of kept my head above water. The things I probably did do that kept my mental health above in that time was probably read and bring myself out of that environment and remind myself, like, why I'm there and why I'm giving it a go. And this is crazy, but, you know, it's a journey, and I just have to, like, sort of ride that journey. And I guess I didn't go with any expectations. I think that was probably the big thing that got me to the sort of towards the end, is having no expectations and sort of just riding with every flow. But then when I was the Bachelorette, that was very different. It was like, okay, well, I'm in there and I've got actually, like, a job, I say in quotation, to do. And the thing was, nothing changed about my personality. I was still the same person, still the Brooke from the bush. My values had pretty much been the same and consistent the whole time, and nothing that had changed. But the growth in me to be like, well, this is what I'm going to go after, this is what I want, that had changed. And I probably didn't have that when I was doing The Bachelor. I probably had a bit more confidence in myself and my ability, and I guess what I wanted in The Bachelorette. And the thing that I did to stay on top of that experience, which was really difficult, especially the amount of hours that you have to work, was trying to call my family as much as I could in that time. And then in the days that I did have off, I just rested and I slept and I didn't think about anything. And I definitely exercised, and obviously made sure that I was eating well and staying on top of, like, my nutrition as well, because in that time, you know, catering is not the most healthiest.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be so tempting to make the wrong decisions when they're just placed in front of you. That connection with family and friends, talking to people every day, there's so much power in that, and strength in that. But you also mentioned, you know, rest and doing nothing. A lot of people think that they have to spend their days doing something, being productive, not realizing that doing nothing is doing something, and it can be very productive and extremely healing. So I'm really glad that, you know, you've got that, because a lot of people need to, I think, remind themselves, or not even remind themselves, if they don't realize for themselves just how important it is when you have the downtime, to take it as downtime. Lastly, what's an everyday practice that you do to keep yourself strong mentally and physically?
Ooh. There's a few things that I've definitely learnt and incorporated more as I've gotten older. I'm very lucky that I have a beautiful dog that, you know, gets me outdoors and, you know, gets me out in fresh air. And I think that starting a morning like that is how everyone should.
Yeah, agree. Hard agree.
It's a routine. It's something I do every day, every afternoon. And I know that it just helps me stay present and stay grounded. And obviously there's science, you know, with getting fresh air, what it does to your body. I think the other thing for me, you know, an everyday practice is, I guess, coming to myself sometimes. Like, you know, you live in your head quite a bit, and you're kind of constantly listening to these voices in your head that are like, oh, I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do this. And sometimes I'll just, like, stop and I'll probably, like, take a few breaths and just be like, okay, well, right now I don't want to do that. I just kind of just want to sit. And I think just, like, it's like a check-in. It's like a breather. It's like an intermission is what I'd probably call it. It's like just stopping and being like, okay, what am I doing? What do I need to get done? But what can I do, like, later? Like, right now is fine. And like you said, rest is, I think people treat rest as a reward because they're like, okay, I'll do this and then I'll be able to rest.
I can rest. Yes.
Yeah, but sometimes it's, like, such a privilege, and you should just, you know, take it as it is, and not treat it like as if it's a reward. And as I've gotten older, you know, I've always like been go, go, go for the last 6 years of being thrusted into this crazy industry and this environment. I've just been go, go, go. And I reaped, I guess I had consequences to that because I had chronic fatigue and burnout. And I'd say like I struggled with my mental health and physical health. But I think, you know, having that rest and recovery and moments, I think it's definitely helped.
I think what you just said then was so poignant. Checking in. It's such a powerful thing to do, and we really do forget to do it because we're on the go, 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 go. And just like what happened to you happens to all of us. If you don't do a check-in, your body will let you know, and it will let you know a little bit too late because you haven't taken the signs in. So not all of a sudden, but eventually you end up with burnout, you end up with chronic fatigue, you end up with so many kinds of illnesses. Your body says, if you didn't let me rest, I'm going to put you down and make you rest for a little while, and because you didn't listen to me. And I think this is a great reminder. Check in. I think this is a really great ending to this particular conversation. Remember to check in. Just keep remembering to check in because we don't. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me, Yvie. It's been such a pleasure. Love you.
Love you. And that's the last ep of our Sisterhood series. I think we could keep this going for a long time, but you let me know. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the beautiful, wonderful women that I've had on this series. I really appreciate them.